For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Welcome back to Pleb Underground. This is episode 61. They want us to eat bugs. Wef's bliss. Distasteful behavior. No chef's kiss. Shout out my homies in KYS. Scape off Twitter with a KYS. It's just not okay. YS. Strange Twitter from friends. No tweets from free range hens. Nothing written by free range pens. Scrolling. What did the TLC? I don't give a fuck. I'm at home getting TLC. Blue collar plebcast TLC. The view I want is a TLC. Gotta stay solvent. Don't get overextended. Thermodynamics. Can't get overexpended. Y'all can't wait to get tennis rich. Get a London girl, not a Venice bitch. Go on a drive and head to your bay. Make sure you find one fit for a ray. With Mediterranean spice, I'm the merchant of Venice. A little naughty, like the menace called Dennis. Take her to Italy. She's my Venice queen. Likes all of my writing. My pen is clean. Scrolling as a writer, not a reader. She wants you to take charge. Be a leader. At the fork in the road, take the path where you lead her. Paul Stork is a chode, psychopath, bottom feeder. An attack on Bitcoin like I introed at Tab. Not a good idea from Layer 2 Lab. Lie about lightning, no gift for the gab. It's a joke he calls himself Truthcoin. I knock it out of the park. Babe Ruth coin all the new slang with each one we ripped. Shout out to all of my homies who got double clipped. I like a short queue, not a long queue. I like short queue, that's why I long queue. Can't short me, you're short you. Ivermectin, I'll short flu. Never bored anymore, but I'm ready for the surf. The port is rich, so serve it with turf. My girl makes it glisten, she makes it sparkle. But here for you, listen, just Phil, me, and Markle.
Absolutely awesome, Walton. Some good jokes in there, I find. I like your wordplay. Guys, if you didn't understand, we've got fellow Bitcoiner and Pleb joining us. Micheal Markle.
Yeah, it's not Meghan Markle joining us.
No, not Meghan.
Fortunately for all of mankind. Yeah.
We got the right Markle here. How's it going, Mike? No relation to her,
Good.
Right?
I guess we'll never know. But no, appreciate you guys having me, man. It's an honor. Appreciate it.
Absolutely awesome. All right. We are going to move it on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, brought to us by TimeChain Stats, TimeChain Calendar, and now sponsored by BTC Pins.
The numbers are brought to you by BTC Pins. Check them out at btcpins.com. Awesome pins made by a Bitcoiner. And of course, he's got really cool accessories, cool stickers. This is my pin collection. Absolutely awesome. Check them out at btcpins.com. Use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off those awesome pins. At the time of this recording, the block height is 815,146. The fiat Bitcoin exchange, 34,479.16. Total public lightning capacity, 5,308. Moscow time, 2,900. It's very nice. It's very nice to see the Moscow time of that time. The fastest fee, 37 sats per VByte. Days to the halvening, 172. And guys, the chain rewrite days are 715. We're back up again. All of a sudden, chain rewrite days is back up again. Anyways, those are the numbers, guys. It's been a pretty crazy week. Absolutely crazy week.
You see chain rewrite days back up, that might indicate you've got some miners switching off, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's people are getting wrecked on energy prices, right?
Could be that. Was there a difficulty adjustment in that happened recently? Because that, if I'm not mistaken, that also impacts the chain rewrite days.
I think it's more when you get a difficulty adjustment significant. It's like a big increase in difficulty adjustment. You actually might then get the most expensive miners turning off because their expected returns aren't sufficient at that cut or something like that. Whereas, does that make sense?
It's funny as you were just mentioning that, I just thought of the Bitcoin Bugle. I don't know if anybody follows that account, but that's an awesome account. It's satire news. I'm just pointing that out to some people
It's
before
like
they
the
go there.
Onion, but for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and before people get triggered, but it was funny. They put out an article about a guy in Canada who got arrested for heating his home with a miner and causing climate change, and it's just. I mean, we're not really far from that anyways, right? Like how satire is that? I don't think it's that satire. Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
That's wild to say the least. But Canada, I wouldn't. Hey, I love Canadians, but it doesn't surprise me that it's coming from Canada.
It's believable. It's really like when I read it the first time, I was like, okay, that's believable. And then I saw it was the Bitcoin Bugle, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like that was a good one. They almost got me on that one.
Well, like someone did a deep fake of Greta like a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? And they had us saying, I can't remember what they had us saying, but there were about, I don't know, 5-10 Bitcoin influencer type characters that were tweeting it, like, you know, from their platform as if this is actually what was being said, and that was cracking me up. It's like, come on, guys, like you gotta. You know, don't trust verify, like really applies to video, I think. And I think even more so, like there's going to be more and more kind of AI type video and audio where, you know, deep fakes, whatever you want to call it. Like, yeah, it's an interesting one, but it amused me how there were, yeah, a few, and this one was kind of obvious because actually in the corner there was a little thing that said satire, but yeah, apparently some influencers I can't read, so you know.
It happens. And you know what? Speaking of psyops, let's take a look. That's kind of what our numbers have to do with today. Okay, so this is actually, I wanted to show this last week, and here we go. It's from the Bill Esquire account for the people who don't know what Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is. Anyways, here's some math that actually makes sense. 1% control the world, 4% are their puppets, 90% are asleep, 5% know and try to wake the 90%, the 1% use the 4% to prevent the 5% from waking up the 90%. So, do you guys think that that's necessarily true?
Can you just go back, because I want to look at the numbers.
The numbers again?
Yeah.
What do you think, Walton? 1% control the world, 4% are their puppets, 90% are asleep, 5% know and try to wake the 90%, the 1% use the 4% to prevent the 5% from waking up the 90%.
I mean, the numbers are pretty a bit skewed, but the concept is a good idea, right? There is. Right? There are a minority of people controlling the world because they control the assets. There are a bunch of people, I think many more, I mean, of their puppets. How do you define puppets? Like, did puppets go along with things, or like, are they like, I don't like the word puppet. To me, they like, there are 4% minions, maybe, like the people who go along with things knowingly. Right, and then there's a bunch of people that are asleep that I think are more like puppets, right? That they get like conjured to do things by these 1% and 4%. So I don't like the terminology, but there is a concept. Yeah, the concept is mostly true here, right? There is, yeah,
I agree.
Propaganda used to control the masses, and there is some bought and paid for group that also propagate the bullshit.
I'm also going to suggest the obvious, or at least I think it's obvious, that Bitcoiners are part of this 5% over here. The 5% know and try to wake the 90. I truly believe
sometimes
that the Bitcoiners are there.
Sometimes I think that's true.
Sometimes
I think like if they're all,
I guess it's not always
all
true.
Bitcoiners are just buying really small, I don't know, really small amounts, and leaving it all on a KYC exchange. It doesn't, you know.
Yeah, that doesn't really do anything, right?
Which percent are they in then?
They might be in the 4%, or they might be in the 90%.
Right. If you own an exchange,
are they in the 1%?
If you own an exchange, yeah.
Michael, which
group is David Bailey in?
We're gonna get into discussing some David Bailey stuff after, but Michael, what are your thoughts on these numbers?
In regards to the post, man, I think it's pretty accurate. Obviously, who knows the sample size from these statistics, but when I go in airports, I see it firsthand. I had a situation where the airport was crowded because everybody was waiting for the elevator, and there was a cone in front of the escalator. I simply moved the cone of the escalator, went down, everybody followed. It was pretty, I can't agree more that a lot of the population's asleep. And especially when you move to a small island, you learn that more too. So we can just try to awaken them, I guess. Make Bitcoin sexy again.
I think it's interesting that you brought up the airport. Walton, you're muted. I think you wanted to say something.
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah, make Bitcoin sexy again. Let's go.
So I think you brought up an interesting point about the airport, because the airport is an incredibly, so I always say this, being a Gen Xer, right? I traveled before 9/11, like I traveled before a lot of these laws were created. I still remember people being able to smoke on airplanes and shit like that. But my point is that essentially going through an airport is such an incredibly dehumanizing process. It's like people don't even realize it. And I know that somebody will sit there and be like, oh, well, like that's first world problems. But like what you don't realize is that you are stripped of all of your rights the second you step foot onto that property. Like your rights are now completely different. All of a sudden, everything changed now that you're there. And I just find it to be an incredibly dehumanizing process. Kind of like, and again,
like the whole shoes thing. Fuck the shoes, people.
It's
like,
more than,
fuck you.
It's more than
fuck
just
you
the
who
shoes.
tells people
That's
to take shoes off in an airport. Like, what's wrong with you?
That's just gross.
Dehumanizing motherfuckers.
No, that's just gross. That just spreads all kinds of like weird foot problems and stuff. Like that's just disgusting. For me, it's more about, so look, having gone through the
Security
Canadian
theater,
airport,
right, Phil? Security theater.
And dude, it's like it's the weirdest thing. You're just dealing with like these essentially like security guards that have this incredible power, to move you along.
A lot can be learned, to say the least.
Yeah, we definitely need to. We need to take the airports back. That's for sure. Anyways, that's the numbers, guys. That wraps up the numbers. What'd you say? Blimps. I don't know if I want to travel on those either.
Yeah, no, Bitcoiners need like a fleet of blimps, and we can do it.
Why blimps? Why can't we have private jets? Everyone else gets private jets.
Like, Phil, I'll come on your jet. Sounds good. Let's go.
I'm not saying I have one. I'm just saying somebody else might have one. And
it's a great question, Walton. Like, what is the cost of a blimp? I don't know.
I think it's more that blimps actually you can do vertical takeoff without much infrastructure, and so that's why it's quite useful, because then you can just go from place to place. You just need a bit of space to take off and land. You don't need a runway, and you don't need a what's the word? You don't need like a helipad like you do for for a helicopter. You don't need a nice flat space. You can do it on a smaller space. So yeah, it's like a hot air balloon or something. Or right.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. That's pretty solid.
I know there's some good logic there.
Yeah, there is good logic there. Actually, it's pretty solid.
I'm in support of a PlebUnderground.
It's like noisy and like, is it even that safe? And like, don't they blow up? They're not full of hydrogen anymore, Phil. But yeah,
no,
maybe there's safer options. Maybe the safer options, more comfortable ones.
Let's get one to say PlebUnderground for the next conference, and we'll fly it over.
I like that. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Blimps are blimps the official Bitcoiner type of?
I mean, I'd watch a show called Blimp My Ride. I'm not gonna lie.
Just take the guy's car and you replace it with a blimp. That's not bad.
Yeah, or Pimp My Blimp. I don't know. However you want to do it.
I love it. Guys, let us know what you think. That wraps up the numbers. We're gonna move it on over to the Fireside Chat. The Fireside Chat is brought to you by CypherSafe. Check them out at CypherSafe.io. Your Bitcoin seed is probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing. You need to store it in something virtually indestructible. Check out the Cypher Grid. Store your seed in the Cypher Grid. It also comes with this awesome little punch tool. You can get them at CypherSafe.io. If you appreciate Fine, high quality Bitcoin art. Check out the Bitcoin Rouleau triangle made of 16 ounces of solid titanium by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. A beautiful item made by CypherSafe.io. Welcome back to the Fireside Chat. As you guys know, joining us today, fellow Bitcoiner and pleb, Micheal Markle is in the hot seat. So look, Micheal, before you came on the show, Walton let me know that you have a very interesting story, very interesting orange pill story, and I wanted to start off. Let's dive into that right away.
I have many interesting stories, so I might need more
No,
content.
that's why we're leaving it open.
So
we're
to
leaving it
me,
open.
basically, I met Micheal at TabConf.
Tell the story.
And he exuded Bitcoin pleb energy, but he was orange pilled by corporate Bitcoin, I'm just intrigued by the story. Micheal, tell us more.
All right, I'll give you a full version of myself. So like, I grew up in Ohio, went to school for engineering. I grew up in the Rust Belt. So this is right in the time where jobs are getting shipped to China, opium's getting shipped in. It's a pretty wild time to say the least. I had a little bit of success in real estate and doing the traditional, working hard as an engineer and then manufacturing, things like that. And then COVID happened and basically all roads led to Bitcoin. It's pretty obvious, to me at least, maybe not to everybody, but that's why we're here. And that led to me moving to Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is a very attractive option for Bitcoiners from the US for a wide array of reasons. And I did have the honor and pleasure to meet a lot of the Bitcoin magazine team.
Wait, just to clarify, were you a Bitcoiner before or after you moved to Puerto Rico? Because my understanding was after, but it was before?
It was like right before, because like I was telling Phil earlier, it was, basically I bought 1,000 to play with, and then it was a light bulb, like just from the time of sending the transaction, just playing, like it was so obvious that, okay, I need to figure out how can I get the majority of my net worth in this. And that was in a time where that was right before the bull run. So you have to go through like the ego process of like thinking you're the smartest person to the price crashing to like, okay, maybe I don't know as much as I do, to like, okay, well, let's start a meetup and like do my part and like figure this stuff out like everybody else. So, but yeah, anyways, what led to Puerto Rico was just a simple change. And Puerto Rico is also like a cesspool for shitcoinery. So I thought it would be important to start a BitDevs down here with my fellow colleague, Hannah Rosenberg at Lightning Labs. Absolutely honored to be doing that with her. If she wasn't a part of it, she's a knowledge of information. It's insane.
Wait.
So we're just out here orange pilling.
Sorry, you have a friend that works at, or a colleague that works at Lightning Labs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I need to ask this because tinfoil hat. Is it true the World Economic Forum, the rumors, right, that the World Economic Forum has infiltrated Lightning Labs because of because they won that arbitrary award like 3 years ago or something like that the World Economic Forum gave them that they supposedly didn't know anything about?
I have no idea, to be honest. All I know is I have to say this, like the people that I have met at Lightning Labs, they are so, like, at least from a technical perspective, which is what I try to treat Bitcoin as right now, is like they seem to be on top of it. So
yeah, we definitely appreciate what they've done so far. I know that like essentially
on top of
LND
shit coinery, like come on guys, upgrade to Bolt 12.
Well, yeah, definitely upgrade to Bolt 12, but also at the same time, we do have to give them at least a golf clap for the work that they've done on LND. Not all of it necessarily, right? We don't give golf claps for Taro.
In fairness, LND does enable like something really cool with Zeus Pay.
Yeah.
Like you can do the asynchronous Lightning payments, which is kind of cool, right? So like it's like you can have a Lightning address with Zeus, and if someone zaps you, the the balance just sits with Zeus until you go online and claim it, essentially. But that's only on LND. But yeah, they do mess around with some other bullshit. That's
So,
for sure.
Michael,
Can we talk about shitcoins for a second?
oh yeah, absolutely. Tell us
Okay,
what
perfect.
you want to tell us, man.
Because
Let's get dirty.
Thank God that you bought the URL fuckshitcoins.com. I'm with it.
It's all Walton.
Puerto Rico is an absolute cesspool of shitcoinery, dude, because it's a place where somebody can move to, launch a shitcoin, dump it on the market, and pay no tax implications. And they'll do it to anybody, to locals here, and it's disgusting. And these people need to be held accountable.
And so, when you go in this cesspool, like when did you meet Mr. Bailey?
How did I meet David originally? I met Brandon, and he's like one of my really good friends here, and he works for David. And then I went to David, and I don't know the whole history of what's gone on from like between you two, but I think he's an absolute asset to Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Wait, who? David Bailey?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Big controversial
Spaced out there
opinion
for a
here.
second.
Let's do it. We can get controversial.
No, let him explain the story. Let him explain the story. And then we'll.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I met, like, I was starting to get, like, I had been in Puerto Rico for about 8 months, and this is when the bull run is like exploding. So like, I'm watching hooligans getting rich, right? Because I'm like, this is shitcoin cesspool. It's only a matter of time you're gonna run into shitcoiners. And I'm like, is my thinking wrong on like all roads lead to Bitcoin? But luckily, I did find some Bitcoiners. There's an incredible array of them here. They like to be more hidden, low key, and in the mountains type of stuff. There's some real OGs here, and I'm absolutely blessed that they come to my BitDev meetup. Shout out BitDev. But David Bailey, I think I just met him socially somewhere, and we just hit it off. He's from Tennessee. I'm from Ohio. Like, you know what I mean? So we vibed over that, and at least since I've started following him, which has been maybe, I don't know, like 2 years now, like, I think he's an absolute asset to Bitcoin. I mean, literally today they're getting sued by the Fed, and they're not folding. They're having a good old time.
They received a cease and desist. Just to be clear, they didn't get sued there. A cease and desist is basically saying, is a letter saying, stop doing this, or we're going to sue you, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a later segment.
Well, yeah, we'll loop back.
And have you guys been to the Bitcoin conference?
Yeah, I was a speaker at 2022 when I was with Simply Bitcoin, and then last year Walton got us tickets, like VIP or whatever they were.
Someone gifted me whale tickets, and so me and Phil went and heckled the wizards.
But hold on, I want to explain. So I want to explain something, right? Because you said you didn't know the history, and I just want to. So really, all it was, okay, was one episode where we essentially trashed the prices. Okay, that was one of the things, the prices of the conference, right? Because as it gets closer to the conference, they're charging something like $9,000 a ticket. Like, I don't give a shit how rich Bitcoiners are or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Okay, like that doesn't all of a sudden become an excuse for price gouging. And of course, somebody's going to say, well, if the market's willing to pay it, then
that's for the whale ticket, in fairness, Phil. Like
I get that. It doesn't matter.
$1,000 is still crazy, or whatever it is. Like,
it's still insane for what that is, man. For $9,000, like for that, I don't care if it's the day before the conference. Like it doesn't make a difference. So he got super pissed about that, and we were in a Spaces one night, and so he saw me as a listener and called me up and decided to start giving me shit about what me and Walton had said. But then at the end, after he gave us shit, he was like, I'm drunk, so don't take any of this seriously. I was like, no, it's okay. It's fair enough. Look, I just thanked him because I really appreciated it. It was a massive space. And
the reason I don't like him is because
shout out.
The reason I don't like him is because he doesn't espouse like Bitcoiner values. He doesn't really believe in personal responsibility. He doesn't believe in self-custody. Like, he's not a supporter of Bitcoin projects enough because he puts his money with shitcoiners. And when these shitcoin companies blow up and they lose his Bitcoin, and the funds collapse, and the sponsors collapse for the next conference, he sacks 20% of his staff. To me, that's why I don't like the guy, because he could have planned it better, not focused sponsorship on shitcoin companies, work to build the Bitcoin ecosystem better. And then maybe there are actually stronger Bitcoin companies that can sponsor his conference. Like he's too high time preference with his money, and he's got plenty of Bitcoin. He doesn't need to be like. The guy lost 100 Bitcoin with 3AC, but later he flexed to me that actually he gave him 1,000 and clawed back 900. To me, that's not a flex. To me, that's just him showing his stupidity. But he doesn't like to, different. I don't know. There are some early Bitcoiners that have too much Bitcoin and not enough sense. And to me, he's one of them. Like he's more successful than Brad Mills. I'll give him that. But like,
sad Mills. All right, so Michael, let's we'll go back to we'll circle back now to Michael. So tell us about the BitDevs meetup. Why did you start it? How is it going? Like, what kind of conversations are you guys having over there?
Yeah, definitely. So what started the San Juan BitDevs was basically we thought it would be important to have a Bitcoin only focused meetup here. There is a crypto meetup that had a lot of success during the bull run, and they know how to party. I'll give them that. But it's like you said it best, Walton. When you're selling nothing, you have to be charismatic, right? So, and it was gaining a lot of attention down here for right or wrong reason. And regardless, when I moved here, I didn't even care about any of the crypto scene. I just fell in love with this island. And when, the year that Bitcoin's having, this isn't the year that you say, what can Bitcoin do for me? It's what can you do for Bitcoin? And having a monthly high quality technical focused meetup, I just knew at minimum it was going to only elevate my understanding of Bitcoin. And here we are, like we started it this year, we're going to be closing the year. And there were some meetups where we only had maybe 5 people show up, but they were all locals. And to me, that's like so satisfying. That, I'm drawing local attention. I don't even care to like draw crypto attention necessarily. And we're just hammering on and yeah, there's just been so much happening on Bitcoin. You gotta get involved in your local meetup.
Yeah, I think, you know what, you bring up an interesting point that, a lot of people maybe don't realize, right? Why would somebody start up a meetup? It's kind of the same reason why somebody would even start a podcast, right? It's the same type of thing. It's I wanted to stay engaged and I wanted to learn, right? And at the same time, I was like, you know what? Why not create some content from learning? And it's, to me, it seems very, very similar, right? It's like it helps keep you engaged. It helps at the same time. It also helps you get to know other Bitcoiners and resources, right? Like you can be a resource for those people. They can be a resource for you. As much as I hate to outline the term community, right? So that's why we're going to put it in brackets because it's a very loose term in Bitcoin. It's much more of a network. The reality is that, like you said, locally, it does end up building a community. And that's really why I think a lot of Bitcoiners end up doing these meetups, right? It's they want to stay engaged as well. Right. And I think it's a really good way of staying engaged. So yeah,
to me, it has a different factor. Like I start going to not a Bitcoin meetup, not in my city, like in a nearby city, right? Like I'm not in London, but I've been going to the London meetup one of every couple of weeks because I think it's good for us to build Bitcoiner networks, right? You're going to need to build kind of over time parallel economies, right? That there will be, I think, end of the decade, you won't be able to buy beef unless it's with Bitcoin.
That's a base take.
You got to do a little searching, but I argue that they're in everybody's local economy. And if you don't know your neighbor that's a Bitcoiner, that I think you should take the initiative to find out. You want to be around Bitcoiners, man.
Yep, absolutely. So if
it's because it's like if they're a Bitcoiner, usually it's a prerequisite for them understanding some clown world bullshit. Like there's a few things, right? And so it's like if they're a Bitcoiner, you think probably they're going to understand a few things. You can have a few things in common. You can actually build something based on that. It's not just that because it's not because they save in Bitcoin. It's because so much of the I think not a lot of tearing down of clown world or spreading the message of the tearing down of clown world happens from Bitcoiners, right? There's a lot of truth seekers in Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so Michael, if people want to find out when these meetups are, do you have a website and everything? And just for the viewers of the show, we're going to be putting all this information in the show notes for you. So if you are in, where are you, Costa Rica?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. So if you are in Puerto Rico and you want to go to a Bitcoin meetup, you have all that information.
Yeah, so you can find us on sanjuanbitdevs.org, and then from there that you can navigate from our Twitter to our Telegram chat. We got the best merch in the game. Maybe I can see if I can get one of those Taco Pleb shirts, maybe for some of our stuff. I know that's a hot item.
Hear that, David?
Maybe I got to earn my stripe.
That's our clothing sponsor. So I'm just kind of hinting to him that somebody else wants merch.
This was for a limited edition event though. Like you can't even buy these. These are yeah.
We'll put you in
contact
contact
I'll be
with
waiting
David
for the
if you
Pleb
want.
Underground drop.
Yeah, David, come on, man. Let's go.
We'll get Michael in contact with David from Represent. He's gonna hook him up. That wraps up the Fireside Chat, and we are moving on over to REKT.
Welcome back to REKT. This week sponsored by Represent. Represent are a Bitcoin-owned clothing brand based in the United States of America. If you head over to representltd.com, you can buy all of their apparel and accessories. And if you use the code PlebUnderground, you'll get a discount on all of them. Once again, that's representltd.com. Welcome back to REKT. This week, potentially, is it Bill Gates getting wrecked? Is Bill Gates going to be the first from the Black Book, right? Was he in that Black Book? Was he a client of Jeffrey Epstein? Probably, right? Like he visited Epstein's Island. How many times? Was it like 26? I don't know what the number was, but like far more than is coincidental. That's for sure, right? And now. It seems like he's actually going to be prosecuted on the. I don't even want to read it, like child rape charges. Horrible thing. Like, yeah, maybe some justice is going to happen for. Yeah, there's going to be many. I'm sure many victims of these, power thirsty, demonic billionaires, right? Like, are we going to see some justice? I don't know.
That's a tough call. That's a very tough call if we're actually going to see, quote unquote, justice. I think we may see certain forms of what appear to be justice. The other thing is this, right? Like, is this all just more noise to cover some other thing that's
right? What's this the scapegoat right? for? What's this the cover? Yeah, exactly. The distraction.
They're not doing this for nothing.
Like, why is he no longer useful? Like, who else still is useful? That's what we really care. Like, yeah.
Michael, what are your thoughts on this?
Bill Gates I'm 31, so Bill Gates is a little before my time. But when it comes to just elites getting prosecuted, I'm really tuned into the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff right now. They literally just finished trial. He was found guilty, but I'm honestly curious. The headlines say 100 years. He has pictures with the right people, and I'm pretty dialed in on that. So that'll be my baseline to see.
Who's not wrecked must be the sketch artist, whoever did SPF. That guy's bank account, that guy must really not be wrecked. Like, how favorable was that sketch? Insane.
It's a good point. That's a very good point. And you know what? To Michael's point. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
I said maybe the dude's just trying to make Bitcoin sexy again, but goddamn, like he's just like the dude looks great in these. He looks like a real G, and he's not. He's a coward.
He sure isn't.
Yeah, and I think he did a lot of that damage to the image of Bitcoin, right? Like a lot of normal people get wrecked, and they don't understand the difference. Yeah, and so we got to be careful a little bit, but
So I just want to touch on a couple of points here for the SBF stuff, because we did put out a clip about this today, and right, he has been found guilty on all 7 charges, and like you said, 110 years. The question is, how much of that will he really serve? And I was getting into a discussion about this with a fellow Bitcoin pleb, and I am of the belief that he's going to do minimal jail time. I just don't think he's going to. And somebody, the person I was discussing with was saying, well, you know, he embarrassed some really powerful people. Okay, that is a fair point. He did embarrass some powerful people, but okay. And the other example was also, well, look at what they did to Bernie Madoff, right? So Bernie Madoff, though, it was a little bit different, right? That was a 35-year Ponzi scheme where people were already retired and all of a sudden had to pay back millions of dollars, like powerful people that were already retired. SBF, don't get me wrong, in no way am I downplaying how shitty that was, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that. And
wasn't it like 100 politicians, like a whole bunch of, I don't know, House reps and this sort of thing that like got stolen money from SBF though?
So that's kind of the thing, right? He gave them money. He donated to them, right? Like they, and in Elizabeth Warren's case, she actually had to cut ties, right, with them when all of the bad news started to happen. So,
but the vast majority of them said they weren't going to give the money back, even knowing that it's stolen money.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, like that's why, like, do you really think, like, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't think his sentence is going to be as bad as everyone thinks. Actually, somebody commented on the clip today and was saying, hey, look, you know, maybe he'll see 3 to 5 years. And I would tend to agree with that.
That's pretty good for a few billion and pay, like, if you pay off enough, it just proves the point, right? If you pay off enough politicians, then whatever.
Well,
yeah.
Hold on, like let's talk about the yearly, like what he might get sentenced to, because it's like, okay, well, the question then is like, are you going to let him have internet? Because it's like, you can give him 100 years, but if he's got a great internet connection and can just tap in, is that even really prison? It's almost like Pablo when he built his own prison to serve.
That's right.
There's a lot of questions here that I'm curious to see what happens.
Somebody else commented that, you know, he's going to get kind of the Epstein treatment, not the non-killing himself situation, but just the freedom of movement and the lax.
The freedom to just hang out wherever he wants. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but be in prison, you know. So I don't know. You know what? The audience, guys, let us know. What do you think? Put it in the comments, right? Like, what do you guys think is going to happen? Does he get 3 to 5 years? Some people are saying 10 to 20 years. 20 years would be like, wow, the system actually works. I think if he gets 20 years, that would indicate to me that, okay, maybe the system actually does dole out some justice sometimes. I don't know.
We will see. I have a second story for REKT. The second story is about Bitcoin Magazine, right? Just today, this is Friday. We record on Fridays. It comes out Monday. Yeah, they get a cease and desist from the Federal Reserve. Which is kind of wild, right? And it's like, is this proven? Yeah, it is proven, because actually there was a response from Mr. Zachary Shapiro Esquire, some wanker on Twitter Spaces, who apparently is actually the legal counsel of Bitcoin Magazine. Who knew? All right. Yeah. FedNow. Apparently they've been using the FedNow merchandise, and so David Bailey, you're gonna have to dial back that scam, because the Fed say not now. Not now, FedNow. Your comments, gentlemen.
Michael, go first.
Look, like at the end of the day, I haven't been that plugged in today. I had some things to do, but I did get several texts. And all I can say is like the fact that a t-shirt got the attention of the Fed is pretty cool. And again, shout out to Bitcoin Magazine for like not folding, you know, with the pressure of the Fed. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. I'm excited. I'm sure there'll be great Twitter spaces out of it, to say the least. So yeah, I don't know if that's all I really know about it. Wasn't it over a t-shirt design that said Fed Now, and they thought they were misleading people that could possibly be customers of this Fed Now system?
That's exactly it. And
yeah, regulation is about protecting consumers.
Right?
Right.
And I mean, look, if you had any doubt that the Fed Reserve is a private corporation, that this should remove all doubt. I mean, to me, like this was such an embarrassing thing for them to do. I don't think they realize the self-own that this was. And it just goes to show how completely detached they are from reality.
Yeah, watch those t-shirts sell out now. Watch those t-shirts sell out.
No, they are. Of course. Actually, the Streisand effect. Somebody actually mentioned that on Twitter and was like, I'm going to go order a t-shirt right now. Like, just because of that. And I was like, you know what? I've never ordered anything from Bitcoin Magazine. I might go get a t-shirt now just for that as well. But that's exactly the point, right? So look.
Then I start going, was there even a cease and desist? Or did David Bailey make it up just to sell t-shirts?
Marketing genius, maybe. No.
Yeah.
No, they really did
Look,
get one.
All I know is, as an American citizen, I can rest assured that, you know, the Federal Reserve is so hard at work making sure that we're getting operation of the U.S. economy and serving the public general interest. So thank God that we're suing David Bailey over a t-shirt.
But no one gets to vote for what the Federal Reserve does, right? But like you extra don't get to vote, right? If you're in Puerto Rico, right? Like so you clapping on the government that you can't even vote for, is that right? How does it work?
That is true. You do lose your right to vote, but you also don't pay any federal income tax or capital gains tax, but you get to keep your U.S. citizenship. So you got to choose, right? Like, do I want to continue to participate, or do I want to keep my Bitcoin stack? And, you know, I think the choice is obvious.
I'm sorry, I was just like, that's really not a bad trade.
Wait, but you have to live next door to David Bailey. Like, you got to include the small print here, Michael.
But I mean, that income tax, dude, it's fucking brutal.
All I say, the small print is just come to your local BitDev meetup. So come on down. But yeah, Act 60, it is a real thing. So if you're a Bitcoiner in the States, then you need to be thinking about the next bull run, you know, unless you want to keep your lifestyle the same.
As more Western countries get wrecked, we're going to see more and more, Bitcoiner expats. I think it's likely, but we'll see.
What do you think the Fed retaliation is going to be to Bitcoin Magazine's response? Because Bitcoin Magazine effectively told the Fed to go pound sand, and they will continue to use the logos. And the beautiful part about this, is that they actually cited a real world case that was lost in the same way, right? They cited some Louis Vuitton versus Dirty Dog Inc. or something like that. So they actually cited a real case. What is the Fed going to do next? What can they do next besides send another letter?
They have long tentacles, right?
They're definitely going through the Rolodex.
Like the Bitcoin conference can just suddenly no longer be able to happen on U.S. territory, and David struggles to book anywhere because all of the big conference center venues get told if you interact with BTC Inc. Like BTC Inc. could get put on like a terrorist list or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a crazy amount of bullshit that can happen. What do you mean? Like, you underestimate how much bullshit the state can throw at you? No, don't do that. That's silly. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's some shell companies being used, but still, like, if he wants to keep running the conference on U.S. soil, like at some point he's going to back down. Like, the man wants his money. Like,
let's just hope they don't get Hillary involved and she starts making phone calls to the suicide hotline. That's all.
I would argue BTC Inc. is international. So, you know, this is bigger than the U.S.
This is
There's
true
plenty
too.
of conferences to go around, plenty of countries.
I mean, I think Hillary already visited David's haircut visit, but, you know, we'll talk about that later.
That's very nice. Very nice. All right, guys. That wraps up REKT, and we are moving on over to the Hopium.
The Hopium.
The Hopium is brought to you by CryptoCloaks. Check them out at CryptoCloaks.com. Use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off awesome 3D prints, such as the orange, well, any color really, astronaut dude. Or you can store your open dimes in the Bitcoin grenade. That's right. Get the bigger one. You can store a signing device. Check them out at CryptoCloaks.com and use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off. All right, guys, for the Hopium, we have got, I think that we've got a trio of videos that are definitely going to inspire a whole lot of people. Anyways, let's dive into it. The first one here, it's a tweet from Cedric Youngelman. Check him out. He does the Bitcoin Matrix podcast. Cedric's an awesome Bitcoiner. And here's a little, it's an excerpt actually from his podcast, and it's Jeff Booth. Jeff Booth, who wrote an awesome book. I think it's the Price of Tomorrow, I believe it is. Anyways, that was a great read. And what is he saying here? Bitcoin is going to reprice the entire debt and prices will continue to fall against BTC forever. Let's check this out.
Is completely illogical, but it is the system we live in today. So that a lot of people say, okay, as we move over to Bitcoin, and if you only understood the base layer of Bitcoin, you didn't understand the payment layer and everything else, you might think, okay, all of the rich people in Bitcoin are going to now own the world, and it's going to be look exactly the same as it did under this system with new rulers. But that's because you haven't done the work and understanding how Bitcoin is going to reprice the entire debt. It's going to remove the entire stack, most of that stack, and whether it does it through inflation or deflation doesn't matter. The new model on top of Bitcoin, because the velocity is in the technology itself, you can do unlimited trade all over the world in the technology instead of having a debt instrument to try to push out velocity. Then what that means is prices continue.
You know what? I think a lot of people are trying to have that conversation about what a world looks like repriced in Bitcoin. I think this is a very good point, but wait, we're not done with the Hopium. We got two more videos of Hopium. Check this one out, guys. It's a tweet from @Joel Lightbound. Happy 15th anniversary. That's right. For the people who don't know, it was obviously, if you didn't notice, somehow it was Halloween this week. And on 10/31, the Bitcoin white paper was officially dropped in the Cypherpunks forum. So happy 15th anniversary to Satoshi Nakamoto. The Bitcoin white paper is one of the most seminal works of computer science in the last 30 years. And for the people who don't know who Joel Lightbound is, he is the federal deputy of Louis Hébert, progressist non-tribal. All right, so that sounds like it's Quebec for some reason. Anyways, let's dive in here and see what he had to say.
Madam Speaker, today marks the 15th anniversary of Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper that gave birth to the Bitcoin network, a fully decentralized peer-to-peer and permissionless way to exchange value. In the words of Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, the Bitcoin white paper is one of the most seminal works of computer science in the last 30 years. It's poetry. In the words of SEC Chairman Gary Gensler, Satoshi's innovation potential to spur change is worth pursuing to lower economic rents and to promote economic inclusion. I couldn't agree more. In fact, over the last decade, we've seen Bitcoin empower the underbanked as well as those living in oppressive regimes. Women, for instance, who use Bitcoin all over the world to evade unjust restrictions on their financial freedoms. It's also helped thousands of families avoid the tragedy of currency debasement. Now, in full disclosure, Madam Speaker, while I do own Bitcoin, I'm not advocating for anyone to buy it, but for everyone to study it, progressives in particular, because after all, Bitcoin was born in the midst of the great financial crisis as an alternative to big banks' greed and the system that never failed to bail them out. It stands for a truly progressive ideal. So today, Madam Speaker, let me thank Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that may be, and wish a happy 15th anniversary to Bitcoin's white paper. Thank you, Madam.
So we're gonna talk about that in a second, because it's very interesting what Gary Gensler's comments were. There was a lot of talk in the previous cycles in Bitcoin about which I don't hear too much mention now, called the fifth pillar, and that's essentially these people in government, very high up government positions that are indeed Bitcoiners, do believe in the Bitcoin ethos, understand that the money is broken, but they can't actually. They can't show their support necessarily directly. Anyways, okay, let's dive into the last video. Last video is a little bit controversial. Shout out
It's
to
a bit like
BT
that Hitler film. What's that? There's a good Valkyrie, right, or something, where they had to mount a response, but they couldn't. You can't do an assassination until you're close enough. You got to otherwise it's a wasted effort, and then there's gonna be loads of people that basically never get to try again because they get killed or whatever. Same kind of concept, right? You have to time your strike.
Very well said. Very well said. And in the next video, this is a Michael Saylor interview that was done this week. It's a little bit controversial in the Bitcoin community. I think we're gonna discuss this because I think that this is a reasonable take from BTC Delica. Let's dive into it. Red flags from Saylor on this utter failure to dismiss this lousy lob of blatant FUD. Number 1, doesn't use USD statistics and terror financing at all. Bad actors. Number 2, adult supervision. Number 3, invitation to Wall Street. Number 4, wish to transmigrate legacy banks into Bitcoin custodians. Number 5, no USD. So let's see what BTC Delica was talking about. And here's the interview with Michael Saylor this week.
As a method for terrorist financing or just for fraud?
I think that the liabilities are the early crypto cowboys, the crypto tokens, the unregistered securities, the unreliable crypto custodians. For the industry to move to the next level, we need to migrate to adult supervision. We're going to need big banks to become the crypto custodians. We're going to need Wall Street to take a role. And we need to rationalize away from the 100,000 crypto tokens, yo-yo coins that people are manipulating, to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer. It is the one universally recognized protocol that's a.
I get what Delica's saying, and I think probably Saylor is a spook. I think basically any CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company that's heavily intertwined with the state is a spook or an asset, right? Like the wars are fought. We've talked about this ad infinitum. Wars are fought economically, and so these corporate behemoths are like big tanks, right? They're tools used in these wars. So whether Saylor is a spook or not, it's kind of irrelevant. But the points that Saylor's making, I think there's some nuance to what he's saying. I think he's saying, like, instead of having, I don't know, FTX be the exchange, if it's Goldman Sachs who are under US law, is that better for US consumers? I think probably that is true, actually. If I'm going to be controversial, I think that probably is true. But I don't think there should be any custodians at all. I think there should be any custodians for Bitcoin. There's a nuanced point here, right? I think kind of both can be true. Like if I do not support any custodians of Bitcoin, but I also think it would be better if I don't know, Goldman Sachs had people's Bitcoin instead of FTX. And that's controversial. You someone try and take me out of context on it, but I don't support any custodians. So, yeah, fuck them. Fuck all of TradFi, especially Goldman Sachs.
Agreed.
Yeah, but yeah, there's still the points can still be true though, and we can still hate on TradFi.
Of course,
these things are not mutually exclusive.
No, absolutely. Michael, what are your thoughts on this before I give my thoughts and we wrap up the segment?
Hey, whatever it takes to get people into Bitcoin. Obviously, like, custodians is an easier option. And as long as there's not any type of regulation that allows any normal pleb to, like, self-custody their own Bitcoin, then, I mean, could you be mad at somebody that, sure, it's custodial Bitcoin, but they onboard, a million people? It's a tough question, because you got to think about the boomers or the 90% that, like the statistic you showed earlier in the show. if you're just going to rely on them to self-custody, you're probably going to be waiting forever, right? Because I don't think they're going to. So I don't know. It's a tough question.
And the price is going to never go. Like, price will never moon if self-custody doesn't continue to expand.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of points, right? I can definitely see where BTC Delica is coming from. The other side of it, if you really listen to what Michael Saylor was saying, he's pretty much explaining that shitcoins are not going away, right? Like, he's explaining that shitcoins are not going away. The reality is that, and this is funny because we've been saying this, or at least I've been saying this on the show for I don't know how long, but it's been evident with the FTX collapse. Like, that became to me the proof between the FTX collapse, SVG, and Signature Bank.
That was the point of it. Sam was a spook. Sam was a spook.
No, so
to place this, right?
Yeah. Let me just finish this. So the whole point was that they saw the legacy system understood how much potential there is in this space, right? So they then simply pulled the plug. That's all it was, because they are now ready to enter the space. And if you think about it, to Walton's point, right? A massive collapse, and in comes the legacy system that's been keeping everyone safe, keeping everything going, right? And now they're going to do it right. It's very typical. And the next bubble that is coming, or the next two bubbles, they are going to be absolutely massive. They are going to dwarf anything we saw before. And believe me, the legacy system understands this very well. They looked at crypto. They looked at the percentages. They looked at, they've looked at so much data. Okay. They understand exactly the field that they're in and who they're fleecing. So, you know what? Like, I don't, I want to go back to the point that Michael made about the cheerleader with the non-custodian stuff. Like, it's a very hard thing because none of us are better than our incentives. Of course, you want Bitcoin to change lives, and at the same time, you also want it to be a censorship-resistant ledger and all that good stuff, right? You want it to maintain all of its qualities, but at the same time, you want number go up, right? Everybody wants that. The problem is the problem is this, right? And this goes to Walton's point. If we don't have people eventually taking self-custody of their Bitcoin, right? Like, if more and more people are not taking self-custody of their Bitcoin, we're literally just recreating the exact same system again, except through a different means. And it's really terrible because, again, we will have sacrificed personal responsibility and freedom, which is really more important, for convenience and security. And it's not even real security, it's fake security, because it only secures a very small group of people. That's really all it does. It doesn't secure, it's not for everyone, so to speak. So yeah, I put it in the Hopium because it's either Hopium or REKT, right? Like, it's Hopium for cheerleaders because, hey, Michael Saylor has 153,000 Bitcoin, or MicroStrategy does, and nobody seems to wonder why they never really heard of this company before Bitcoin. But of course, you'll have somebody who will be like, oh, I knew Michael Saylor long before MicroStrategy. Yeah, I'm sure you did. It's kind of weird. I don't think
anyone had heard of him before he bought Bitcoin. I mean, there's got to be some people who, technically, right? But I mean, Bitcoin, no one had heard of Michael Saylor before MicroStrategy bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin.
But now all of a sudden, right? But all of a sudden, their software is in demand and all this. Anyways, it's okay.
So
hold on, you guys.
Again, it's just the psyop. It's about incentives. It's about who are the people that deal the Hopium. Well, it's the people that have the cuts in the exchanges, etc. Right? And so it's Hopium in the short term for those people that have a cut in new people buying, right? Because that's what it's about. That's what these Hopium deals are about. It's about recruiting new people to pay that 1% fee, right?
He did survive the .com bust. So MicroStrategy, I mean, I went and looked, like, he did survive that, right? He kept that company going. So there's got to be some props for that. Sorry, Michael, what were you going to say?
All that means is he actually had a real company, right? Like, the only ones that blew up were just like bullshit companies anyway, no?
That's right. But he actually had a real company. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I was just joking because one time I out to dinner with my girl, and I was like, we need to ban Micheal Saylor from Twitter because I'm sick of these AI-generated Bitcoin is hope, Bitcoin is energy, Bitcoin is like, come on, man, get something like character. Make Bitcoin sexy again.
The bull market returns when he stops posting those tweets, right? Like
every time he buys, it drops. He's not like every time he buys, like that's why people
can be really cool.
Huh?
AI art can be really cool, but like fuck Saylor's AI art. Like seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, I like what he's doing for Bitcoin, but I can't stand with that AI generative.
Well, let's see how this all plays out, right? As of right now, MicroStrategy is pretty much a Bitcoin ETF, for lack of better terminology. So,
I mean, until the Coinbase rug pull, like MicroStrategy is the biggest holder for the U.S. government. Sorry, wait, what?
What? No, come on.
I don't think that's true. I think the U.S. government's probably got 200,000.
Yeah, but you're friends with Dave Bailey, so like, how can we trust what you've got to say anyway?
Can't trust what Michael has to say. It's like, nobody can trust what we have to say either, so don't worry about it. We're all in the same
don't trust verify.
Guys, just please come down and come to Puerto Rico soon, man. We're gonna
come and hang out.
It's gonna be, of course. You guys are it's so refreshing that you guys are in the media space for Bitcoin. It's so needed. Fuckshitcoins.com. Make Bitcoin sexy again. You're a fucking G, Walton, and I hope I get to meet you someday. So.
See, Walton's the G.
Yeah, that's because we hung out already, Phil.
Like, honestly, no. Right. Phil's also a G because Phil,
okay. I don't want the pity. I don't want the pity support.
No. You are. I only said that because I didn't meet you in person, but you're so plugged in on like you're grinding out, putting out the updates, making sure we're staying aligned to the signal, not getting caught up in all this fucking bullshit noise. So shout out to you, Phil, too. You guys are both G.
I appreciate you, my dude.
Go.
I appreciate you. So, guys,
I want to wrap there like that. This guy just finished it for us, Phil.
He did. He totally finished it
and
for
it's
us.
Friday. Like,
that's right.
Come on, let's. If you're a Bitcoiner, you should be ecstatic to be alive. Like you should be going into this weekend, like, you know what I mean? Like, and to make Bitcoin sexy again, like, come on, we all got to band together, have fun. Bitcoin's as relevant as ever. The price is up. Like, I'll see you guys on the other side.
Michael brought the Hopium. And guys, that actually wraps up the Hopium. And let us know. Let us know what you think. Put it in the comments. That wraps up this week's episode of Pleb Underground. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us grow the channel. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats through Breeze. And guys, don't forget to take self-custody. It's probably the most important thing that you need to do in Bitcoin. Take self-custody. We've got some awesome resources for that in the show notes. And guys, we will catch you all next week. But before we go, Michael, how do the viewers find you?
Hey, man, just come to Puerto Rico. And we'll run into each other. But please check out sanjuanbitdevs.org.
Absolutely awesome. We're going to put that in the show notes. All right, Walton. We're wrapping it up. What do we got left?
Fuckshitcoins.
That's right.
.com. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
More toxic than the most toxic